So what's up YouTube, and welcome to Attention to Detail. For today's video we're going to be talking about foam, thick foam, and lots of it. So today we're going to be talking about the top 4 reasons why you might be struggling to get that thick foam out of your foam cannon, and I'll also give you some tips and tricks along the way to help improve your foam. So yes, in this video there will be quite a bit of talking. There's also going to be visual comparisons, a lot of tips and tricks, and a lot of useful information. So I really hope you stick it out to the end, and I also hope you hit that subscribe button. So now let's get started talking about foam, starting with number 1. So coming in at number 1 on my list, and it's probably the most overlooked part of making foam, is your water. Now it can't just be any water, it has to be clean water. This happens to be distilled water. Now when I'm talking about clean water, some of you probably rolled your eyes or got puzzled and you're like, hey, no, my water's clean. So if we take a look at just a glass of water out of your house, it appears to be clean, correct? Now inside of your water, there's minerals that have broken down as the water filters through rocks and stuff like that, which is also known as hard water. So why does hard water create an issue when we're talking about making foam? So now your soap, inside of your soap there's chemicals that need to break down inside of the water. It's going to create a lather, which is where your foam comes from. Now when you have hard water, your soap right away starts to fight the minerals that are inside of the water, which causes it to scum up and break down in a negative way, hence hurting your foam output. So now how do you know if you have hard water? You could purchase a home test kit where you'll take a strip, dip it in your water, and you'll grade it on the scale that usually comes with the test kit. You could also get a TDS meter, which stands for totally dissolved solids. Now real quick before we get off the number 1 topic, which is water, I want to take and give you a visual idea of what I'm talking about. So I'm going to go tape off the hood of my truck, and I'm going to pour some of my house water, which I just happen to have moderately hard water. Then we're going to add some distilled water to the hood, and then I'm also going to use some hose filtered water. Now as the water evaporates on the surface, as it's baking in the sun, you'll see the minerals that are left behind. So let's go give it a test so that you can see what I'm talking about. So on the far left side, I'm just going to put regular old tap water right out of the hose. In the middle of the hood, I'm going to put distilled water. And on the right side, I'm going to put some hose filtered water. So now I'm going to let it bake out here in the sun for about an hour. Then we'll come back and we'll see the visual comparison. So on the left side, which was water right out of the hose, you can see that when the water dried, all those minerals were left on the surface, creating water spots. So in the middle of the hood, which was the distilled water, you can see there is no water spots. And that's because distilled water doesn't have any minerals to leave behind. You can see over here on the right side, the hose filtered water, the filter wasn't strong enough to block all the minerals that were coming through, so we're still left with watermarks. So a real quick tip, use distilled water in your foam cannon that you mix with your soap, because the distilled water has no minerals, so the soap will be allowed to break down and do what it's supposed to do, giving you more foam. So now that we know that number 1 is clean water, can you guess what number 2 is? Down in the comment section below, put your best guess. I'll give you a hint. It goes hand in hand with your water. It's the key ingredient, it is your soap. Not just any soap, it's the type of soap that you've chosen to use. Now if you want foaming soap, you're going to want to look for something that's actually meant to go in a foam cannon. For the example there, Chemical Guys, Adams Polishes, all the main brands make certain soaps that are for foam cannons. For example, Watermelon Snow Foam Auto Wash from Chemical Guys. This is designed to make thick foam out of your foam cannon. Another product is going to be the Mother's Speed. Now they have a foaming wash and wax, and we're actually going to take this out and test it, because just because it says foaming doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to give you that thick foam out of your foam cannon. So the long story short that I'm trying to make here is you're gonna wanna have a good quality soap that's actually intended for foaming if that's what you're looking for out of your foam cannon. So now to give you that visual comparison, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna test the cheapest soap that I could find at Walmart. I'm gonna compare that to a mid-level name brand soap that actually says that it's meant for foaming. And then I'm gonna test it out against a soap made for foam cannons. So to make this completely fair, we're gonna use the same pressure washer, we're gonna use the same foam cannon, and we're gonna use the same amount of soap to water ratio for all three. So we'll start off with the cheapest soap, then we'll move to the name brand soap, then we'll move to the foam cannon soap. So let's get started. Another real quick tip for you, if you use warm water in your foam cannon, it'll change the pH level, allowing your soap to reach that lather faster, equaling more foam. So now we've discovered that the number one reason is your water, number two is having the right soap, now number three is going to be a combination of the both. It's going to be your soap to water ratio inside of your foam cannon. So now what a lot of people do is they watch the Chemical Guys videos on YouTube, and what do? They just squeeze the bottle twice and say, hey, that's 2 ounces. It's not going to be accurate. You need to actually measure out your soap. So if you want that real thick foam, you need to have the correct ratio of soap to water. Now different soaps are different. For example, the Chemical Guys on the back of the bottle, their directions say add 1 to 2 ounces into your foam cannon. Whereas if we look at a different company, we'll look at Adams Polish's car shampoo, on the back of theirs it says add 3 to 4 ounces. Now keep in mind, no matter how much soap you put in there, or what kind of soap even, all soaps are going to foam somewhat. They're not going to be thick, they're not all going to be the same. But even a low quality soap will give you some foam. So now if your water is good, you've got a quality soap, and you followed the directions on the back of the bottle and you're still not getting thick enough foam, it's still watery, still runny, something you could try is adding a little more soap. Sometimes adding 1 more ounce of soap to your foam cannon is the difference between wet and runny foam and real rich thick foam. So another quick tip for you, if you're tired of measuring your soap every single time you want to use your foam cannon, something you can do is measure out 2 ounces of water, pour the 2 ounces into your bottle, take a Sharpie, put a line there, so you always know where your 2 ounce mark is on your bottle. I also did it with 4 ounces. That's up to you. Just a quick tip. So coming in at number 4 on the list is gonna be your pressure washer. Now there's different types of pressure washers. You have gas pressure washers and you have electric pressure washers. Now a question that I see all the time is, do I have to have a gas pressure washer in order to get that thick foam? To answer that, it's not a yes or a no, because can you get thick foam out of an electric pressure washer? Absolutely, but it has to have certain requirements. Now to grade a pressure washer as to how good it is or how bad it is, you have to look at 2 things. So 1 is going to be the PSI and 2 is going to be the GPM. Now the PSI is the amount of pressure that it's going to put out, and the GPM is its flow rate, gallons per minute. It's how much water is going to flow through it and how fast. So now on my channel I do a show that I call Gas versus Electric. I'll put that up on the YouTube card real quick. You can go check out the latest video. But to sum that up, I'm going to take the same soap and I'm going to try it on my gas pressure washer, and then I'm going to do it with my electric pressure washer. That helps show people what you can expect out of just stock pressure washers, whether it be gas, whether it be electric, and how well they foam and how it compares in foam. So now when it comes to your pressure washer, to pick that, you have to really look at things, because your foam cannon will typically say, hey, we need a minimum amount of PSI and we need a minimum amount of GPM. For example, I use the MTM PF22. And on the directions for the PF22, it clearly states that if I use the 1.25 millimeter orifice, I need 1.8 gallons per minute and a minimum of 1,100 PSI. However, when we're talking about that, I mentioned the word orifice. Now the orifice is something that you can swap out. There's different sizes. I have 2 right here, a 1.25 and a 1.1. What the 1.1 would be is the hole in the center here is slightly smaller, which builds up more pressure, and this helps electric pressure washers get more foam. So now if we look back at the directions that I showed you for the MTM PF22, you will have seen that the 1.1 millimeter orifice requires less GPM and less PSI. And so because of this, I can get that thick foam using the electric pressure washer or a lower PSI GPM pressure washer. So bringing us back to that first question, can you get thick foam out of an electric pressure washer? Yes, but you may need the 1.1 millimeter orifice. So to sum up the whole deal around the pressure washer is you may not need gas, you may not need electric, but what you want to look for is higher GPM and higher PSI. Go with whatever you can afford, but try to maximize on both of those categories as high as you can. So another quick tip, when you add your soap and water to your foam cannon bottle, don't shake it like a crazy person. Instead, swirl it around in a circular motion, allowing that soap to break down correctly instead of bubbling and inflating inside your foam cannon. So there you have it, folks. That was the top 4 reasons for why you're not getting that thick foam out of your foam cannon. I really hope you liked this video. I hope you found it very useful and got a lot of knowledge out of it. If you did, make sure you hit that thumbs up button. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on future videos. This was Joel with Attention to Detail. Thanks for watching.